1, 2, 3.
Hello, welcome to Rock the Cash Bar. I'm Ben Mowbray.
And I'm Diane Gallagher.
Every week we pick one song and do a deep dive into the lyrics and explain the different ways they've been interpreted.
We will also discuss how the song connected to us on a personal level, focusing on all the embarrassing details.
Glad to have you here. Enjoy the show. The internet's going to force us to do a Kanye episode, isn't it?
Ben, I don't know if I'm mentally ready for this.
I don't want to either, but it's going to happen. This is kind of inside baseball talk. We should probably be talking about it off air, but they're going to force us to do it, aren't they? It's going to become too fascinating that our little show will have to do it.
It's so wild. And the thing is like he doesn't make the kind of music I care about. But from what I've heard, before he lost his mind, he's very good. He was a very good artist and he has very good songs. Lots of people go crazy. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's the same reason we haven't done a Michael Jackson song. Like, he's a legend, but I don't want to fucking go there, you know?
I'm the same way, but there's so much there with Kanye.
I know.
Like, the mental illness alone is just one side of it. And then, of course, you get into the politics, and then you get into like he's obviously being used by people. Like, he's clearly being manipulated. And obviously, like trying to do some manipulation of his own. Like, it's kind of like endlessly fascinating. Like, who's putting who on here?
I'm just like, stop giving him a microphone. He's nuts. Like, we're so horrible as a society. Everyone knows he's nuts. No one doesn't know that he's just off his fucking rocker. And people want clicks and they want views, and people love showing the ugly more than the positive. And they're just like, every microphone you can get in his crazy mouth. And I'm like, stop, stop.
I wonder if there's a way to do like a sober kind of unvarnished look at everything that's happened to that guy, because it's super painful to lose your dream girl. It's super painful to lose your whole family,
your mom,
your children, to have that happen to you very publicly. Obviously, that's going to be ego shattering. He clearly had a massive ego to crumble all around him, and he had underlying mental issues as well. And then, there's the whole idea of a black man subverting political expectations. There's just a lot to talk about there.
I'll think about that in 2023. Let's see how far he survives.
Yeah, I don't want to leap on it like, well, he's the hot ticket topic, but I do kind of want to do a proper analysis of what's going on there.
And the bottom line is, I feel sorry for him. This isn't a healthy person. Something horrible is happening to him, and I'm like, is he gonna die? Or hopefully someone gets a hold of him and puts him in help, and he fades away and maybe comes back healthier. That's my goal for anyone who's lost their fucking mind. But I'm just scared for him at this point.
Yep. I saw some genius on the internet had the very prescient quip. We're like, are we going to put Kanye in a conservatorship, or is that just something we do to women?
Nah, that's good. That's good.
Anyway,
I want to see him dancing when his little midriff showing.
It's Christmas time, Diane.
Christmas time. I am trying so hard to get in the Christmas spirit. Can you tell?
You were funny and provocative on the internet a couple of weeks ago. Was it a week ago when you were saying, like, I don't mean to antagonize anybody, but I just finished my Christmas shopping.
Yes. Wasn't
you
even
can hate me, or I can be an inspiration.
You can be mad. This is your choice what to do with these feelings that you're having, or you can be inspired, get that shit done, and just sit back and drink boozy drinks for the rest of the December.
And it says more about you than it does about me. I always feel guilty because I Amazon Christmas every year, and have for like 10 years now, or maybe longer. And I feel really guilty because it doesn't feel like I'm putting the effort in. But then I'm just like, would anybody really care that I wandered around the mall? I wouldn't find better gifts.
No, I think that makes you sane. That nobody wants to be in these crowds.
I'm not going out and forget it.
No.
I'm staying within these four walls talking about Wham. That's what I'm going to do.
Damn, motherfucker. I have this memory. We were out at it's this bar on Westheimer. I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a Sunday brunch. This was years ago, and they were playing like really loud music, and they started that boom 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 boom. I can't remember which Wham song that is. Whatever that is. And our friend like kicked open the door to the patio and was dancing. He just goes, "Wham, motherfuckers!" And like that's all I think about now when I hear the word wham, because it's even got an exclamation point in it. And
Yeah, the exclamation point is part of the name for good reason.
wham, motherfuckers.
Wham. It's got to be wham.
Wham. So I put this horrible thing on us for this month. I challenged us to do Christmas songs, and there's hundreds. There's so many to choose from. And when I chose this one, I think everybody's like, "Couldn't you pick a better one?" I'm like, I probably could have, but I'm going to choose this one because I want to talk about George Michael, and I want to talk about how Corbin was like, did not know this song until George Michael died. George Michael died on Christmas Day in 2016, and then this song like really took off. But it was huge before then, and Corbin's like, I didn't know it. I'm like, how is that possible?
You are dodging raindrops if you've never heard this song before.
I don't know. And so there's this game. They put it on the internet on Facebook every year. They call it Whamageddon. Starting in the month of December, everybody's basically playing Whamageddon. And once you hear Last Christmas anywhere out in public, you're out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which to me, I'm like, okay, the name is Whamageddon, but that's wrong. It's Whamboozled. I mean, let me name things from now on.
Whamboozled is much better. Now, I listened to Last Christmas a couple of times over the last couple of days, professionally.
Oh, okay.
We're professionals now, Diane. So it's noon on December 2nd. I am still unwhamboozled. I haven't been whamboozled.
You know what, Ben? I went to the dentist this morning with my son. We both went. As I'm laying in the chair, I hear it. It plays in the dentist office. I'm like, dang, I got whamboozled. And then I go directly from there to go to the grocery store, and I hear it again. I've been whamboozled twice before noon.
I am not leaving the house until I don't have to. I'm done Christmas shopping.
Well, everybody listening to this podcast is whamboozled now because here we go.
We are, of course, doing Last Christmas. It's a song by Wham. It's written, and all of the instruments are played by George Michael. I didn't realize that
I didn't see that. I didn't know he played it all.
George Michael has a heck of a lot more to him than I would have thought. We'll get into it. Everybody knows the lyrics, but here we go again. Last Christmas, I gave you my heart, but the very next day you gave it away. This year, to save me from tears, I'll give it to someone special. I like that. Four quick lines tells the whole story.
Did she just break up with him? Is that it? She broke up with him the day after Christmas?
You know, I wanted to be cynical, and I was trying to write something like wry and stupid about how like I gave you my heart, and the very next day, like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Like, that's awfully quick. But then I realized, like, no, there's probably that moment, like that Christmas moment where he's realized that, like, you are the one for me.
Yeah.
You watched the video. Did you watch the video again?
I watched the video, and I want to talk about the video because it's confused. It's different than these lyrics. It's like he's the one that's going to cheat on his girlfriend with his best friend's girl. They're giving each other eyes at this ski lodge cabin. Yeah. I'm like,
there's a lot going on in that ski lodge.
Yeah. Yes.
But I didn't pick up, like, obviously I've seen that video many, many times when I was a kid, but the obvious, like the brooch, that I didn't realize it was a flashback. Like I guess I just didn't think about it very much.
Right.
But there's a flashback scene in the video where he's giving his ex-girlfriend this brooch, and then he sees that his friend, who's now dating her a year later, is wearing that brooch. So it's very much a, how dare she? You know,
That's what. Okay. The
that's
videos
what
make sense now. Okay.
like I gave you my heart. Obviously, the brooch is meant to symbolize that. Like he got out and bought her some very fancy jewelry to say, "Hey, I am very, very serious about you. I know you'll be thrilled to wear my jewelry." And then the very next year, she's given it to somebody else. So it's just like that.
Got it.
Double pay.
Yeah.
Somebody go give George Michael a hug.
Yeah. He's also the hottest person in that video. The 80s were weird, what people were doing with their hair and what we considered hot. Or I was like, this is the girl you cast to be the hottest girl of, I don't know. Maybe she's fine.
Don't get me wrong, I like George Michael quite a bit, but I think his being the hottest person in that video is no accident. Whole calculation.
There is a fun fact that this was, I'm just going to read it now. This song's music video was the last time that George Michael was filmed without a beard. After this, we only saw him with a beard.
Had a beard for the rest of his life. Caddy joke, go.
Yeah.
You're right. Leave it alone.
We'll
leave it alone.
He's gay. And anyone that saw Wake Me Up Before You Go Go and did not know is off their rocker.
Well, the whispers were always going around. I was reading Rolling Stone articles, like contemporary Rolling Stone articles that were definitely sort of like in the early 80s, they were sort of like arching their eyebrows about it, like making comments about their shorts and, you know, like allegedly he has a relationship with this makeup artist or whatever. They were throwing those in. And then by 87 or 88, when Faith was getting released, like Rolling Stone was pretty much like coming right out and talking with George Michael about like, okay, there are rumors that you are gay. And I would think, I mean, I was only 7 or 8 at the time, but I would think if you were an adult in 80s, like, okay, you're clearly gay. Like, just come out and tell us. Like, it was a different time. Like, obviously, the AIDS pandemic was all over the place, and it was a completely different world. Here comes one of our favorite things: 2 40-year-old heterosexuals imagining what it's like to be a young gay man in the 80s.
In the 80s, yeah, when everyone's like, just say you're gay. And like, even today, I had a friend, you know, about a decade ago, we all knew he was gay and like kind of pressing him, like, can you just say it? But there's a respect thing where I think he's like, I'm not telling you before I tell my family, you know? I'm like, I get it. Okay.
Or it's my process, you know, it's a part of me. Like, I'll disclose it whenever I feel like it. You know, it's not, you don't have it. It's strange because obviously, like, especially around the holidays, you know, I see a lot of my gay friends posting things just like, you can't ruin Thanksgiving dinner by talking about an important part of your identity.
Yeah.
You know, which is absolutely true. I mean, that's the 100% emotional honesty of the whole thing. But I also think that there's a lot, if you can't get to it if you're not comfortable revealing it yet. You know, like you probably will ruin Thanksgiving dinner if you just hint around about it. You know, if you're not confident about it, then it's probably maybe next Thanksgiving. You know, I could definitely see a gay person who's going, I'm not ready for that yet.
I just want to eat turkey.
Not ready to answer
play games. I don't remember when he came out. I don't remember when George Michael came out officially.
Oh, you don't? We'll get to it. Let's do the song first.
Okay.
Yeah, he came out. He had a rather famous incident.
Okay. Okay. We'll get there. Okay. I remember.
Once bitten and twice shy. I keep my distance, but you still catch my eye. Tell me, baby, do you recognize me? Well, it's been a year, it doesn't surprise me.
Once bitten and twice shy, I keep my distance, but you still catch my eye. Tell me, baby, do you recognize me? Well, it's been a year, it doesn't surprise me.
Okay.
All the couples. I see it at the bar all the time. It's
always really.
Yeah, because like everybody's always like, "Are you going to be in town? Are you going to?" And they're trying it on with the person that, "Are you available?"
Yeah.
You know, it's like that. Is this the year? You see it all the time, and it's usually adorable, and in the way that it's heartbreaking.
Oh, you get to see such a cool vantage point from that side of the bar. Like, you always seem so busy, but yet you're still picking up on everything.
You gotta watch.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why I like to do it, because it satiates the gossip in me.
Oh, oh yeah.
Christmas, I wrapped it up and sent it with a note saying I love you, I meant it. Now I know what a fool I've been, but if you kissed me now, I know you'd fool me again.
Happy Christmas. I wrapped it up and sent it with a note saying I love you. I meant it. Now I know what a fool I've been, but if you kissed me now, I know you'd fool me again. Have you ever had that person in your life? Like it's
Oh,
like, stay away
yep.
because you will suck me back in a heartbeat.
Yep, very I mean, this was over 20 years ago now, but yeah, there was like one person where I'm like, don't, why are you here? No. I know I'm gonna go home with you and I shouldn't. Yeah, yeah.
The heart wants what the heart wants. How many times have we said that on this one?
Hearts are dumb.
Repeats the chorus a couple of times. Last Christmas I gave you my heart. We should probably sing it. Last Christmas I
I
gave
gave
you
you
my
my
heart,
heart,
but the very next day you gave
give
it
it
away.
away. This is what people want. They want to hear us sing this year. That's what they want. We're so bad.
So plaintive, like the I don't know how to describe it. It's just the sheer depth of longing in that chorus.
Oh,
I think
no.
that's why the song resonates for everybody. It's just like it's less to do with the story and just everything to do with those four lines. Like it's at once like down at the mouth and optimistic, you know.
Yes,
It's honest and loving, but at the same time got kind of a bitchy sentiment to it,
it
you know,
does.
where it's just like I can do better than you seems to be in there somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
I'll pull myself together and I'll show you is hidden in there somewhere, even amongst all the tears.
Yeah, I'll give it to someone more specialer than you. But
The
if you
more
kiss me, I go
special
home with you
person I can find.
right now. What's funny is I chose this song to get us in the Christmas spirit, and this song has nothing to do with Christmas.
Yeah, I know. It's just set in the holiday times. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
It's just Christmas as a reference point.
yeah.
But it is it's oh.
Face on a lover with a fire in his heart. A man undercover, but you tore me apart. Ooh, now I found the real love. You'll never fool me again.
A face on a lover with fire in his heart.
It's
A
my
man
favorite line of
covered,
the
but you
song.
tore me apart. Yeah.
I mean, when I'm in this car, I usually don't sing every word, but when it comes to face on a lover, I'm like, I don't know why that just the flow of that line it gets me.
Mm-hmm. As a man undercover, but you tore me apart.
Oh, it's good.
Oh, now I found a real love. You'll never fool me again. Mm-hmm.
But I'll go home with you if you kiss me. I think.
I'm right, I will.
Yep, yep.
I wonder if there's like a double sort of meaning in that one. Like you'll never fool me again. If he's sort of like implying like I'm going to be the one to fool you this time.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
been a year. I'm stronger. We can sleep together, but I'm not gonna get crushed again this time.
Yeah, the heart stomping's going to be literally on the other foot this
Yeah.
time, Missy.
Missy.
Mm-hmm. A face on a lover with fire in his heart. I gave you mine. A man undercover, but you tore him apart. Maybe next year I'll give it to someone. I'll give it to someone special. Special. So long.
Is that basically the song?
But those are the lyrics to Last Christmas.
Yeah. All right.
I mean that one does what it says on the tin. That like
It,
it comes right out and it says it.
yes.
George
Uh,
Michael is an endlessly fascinating character. He is the son of Greek immigrants. His father was a Greek restaurateur who moved to London in the 50s and met an English dancer and started a family. Young George Michael goes to school and he meets Andrew Ridgeley, who I want to ask you, I was really looking for an article that would talk about what is the relationship between George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley, because it seems to me like they're both pretty obviously gay men. George Michael obviously is an out of the closet gay man. I didn't read anything that said that Andrew Ridgeley had ever come out of the closet. I only suspect he's gay. I apologize if I'm making the wrong assumption. But I also presume that they must have been a couple at some point in their boyhood or in their youths. And I don't think either man ever said that publicly. And I didn't read any articles that wanted to speculate on that.
yeah, no, I feel like it makes sense to speculate. Usually you don't have like a gay guy and a straight guy that seem as close as they were, like best friends, but I'm not saying it's not possible. But yeah, I never saw anything about Andrew being gay. I
No.
don't know.
but they were, so they're school friends. Like when they're 14, 15, they meet. And George Michael is obsessed with music. Like his parents have given him a tape recorder when he was a kid, and he just starts recording himself, not necessarily instruments, but just drum beats on ice cream tubs and that kind of stuff. And he's singing with a tape recorder and everything like that. But George Michael, believe it or not, is described by his family and himself as kind of a pudgy and shy and retiring teen, which you would never believe because he was a pop star at a very young age, and obviously flashy George Michael, for fuck's sake. But apparently it's Andrew Ridgeley that allowed him to grow in that direction, because Andrew Ridgeley was a very flashy, flamboyant type of performer. Like he loved being on stage, he loved being the center of attention, and he kind of rubbed off on George Michael. It was like he showed him like, okay, this is how you can do it.
Interesting.
It's like a proper like symbiotic relationship. They get a shitty record deal with I think they were called Intervision was the name of the small record label, and I wasn't paying them good royalties or anything like that, but they were writing very good pop songs. And they had 4 sort of minor hits in England, or relatively big hits in England, that allowed them to buy their way out of that record contract and into a contract with CBS. And that's when Wham hit it really big with Casual Whisper and, of course, Wake Me Up Before You Go.
Yeah. Was it Careless Whisper?
Careless Whisper. Sorry, with the lonely saxophone solo. That's my favorite line that I tell people right now. I'm like, how you doing? I'm lonelier than a saxophone solo.
Except for the one in Lost Boys.
That is not a lonely sax solo.
No.
It's amazing, like how he can, the thing that I think makes George Michael the pop star that he is the way that he can interweave sort of the happiness of pop with the real melancholy. Like Careless Whisperer is just like, I'm never going to dance again. These guilty feet have got no rhythm. I'm never going to dance again the way I danced with you. It's just like, I remember hearing that as a kid, just thinking, that's the saddest fucking thing I have ever heard. And I must have heard that at like 6 years old.
Oh, I know. God, this song's a jam though.
So George Michael, Wham is huge. Like they're boy band huge, but they're also like looking back on it now, I think at the time they were sort of seen as really disposable pop in a way that like Erasure wasn't, Right. I think Erasure, because they were a little older and they weren't presenting themselves in the short shorts and the neatly trimmed hair and everything like that. They weren't presenting themselves as overtly sexual beings. They were overtly emotional guys. Whereas Wham was coming out with a very much like, aren't we cute? But I think led people to dismiss him. But you read the articles, like especially after George Michael's passing, you read the articles that were commemorating him and going through the history of his career. You can see that there's like a reckoning that's going on there, where like I think Wham is sort of being welcomed into sort of the Erasure and the 80s pop fold in a way that they were stiff-armed from at the time.
Right.
Like my relationship with George Michael kind of started. My mother was a big George Michael fan, and then my sister became a big George Michael fan as she was like in the young girl phases. So when my sister was 9 or 10, she had the George Michael Faith photo or big poster on her wall, and she was popping Faith into the CD deck all the time. I had to listen to Father Figure over and over and over again, and it made me resent George Michael because like, how is a guy? You can't like the guy that your little sister likes. Right. That's not the way that young boys work. So I don't want to say that I hated him, but I definitely had like a weird, like, oh, that guy, for a long time. And it wasn't until kind of his political activism in the mid 2000s after we might as well get to it. So, all right. So he breaks up with Wham, and he didn't want to, like he and Andrew Ridgeley are still friends, but he just felt like he was under a lot of pressure, and a lot of it is social pressure. He's in the public eye. Clearly, although you read the quotes and things that he says at the time, obviously it's stemming from his sexuality. Like as he got older and he could talk about it, he said during his Wham days and sort of his early fame, he was sleeping with a lot of women because he was sexually attracted to them, but he was sexually attracted to them in sort of a dead end way. Like he knew, I think his direct quote is something like, I knew emotionally that I was a gay man, but I was still attracted to women. So he knew that every relationship he had with women, with a woman was flat guaranteed to end. Like he wasn't ever going to love them the way that he loved being with men, which probably makes it difficult, when music writers are coming out to you and like, hey, are you gay? Like, come on, say it. He's got to be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, his internal monologue must have been saying something like, yeah, that's an open question. Like,
And they didn't have the dialogue and stuff now that you could be fluid and do all the things. And, he probably thought in black and white terms, like, I have to be this or that. You want to go back and shake him and be like, you can do it all. Like, it doesn't matter.
also, he's a 22-year-old dude. If you gave me millions of dollars, a face like George Michael, and the fame of George Michael, I'd have been fucking around the globe too.
I mean, he was always with supermodels. His videos, especially during the Faith album, was just all the supermodels at the time in their videos.
It makes sense. And you kind of look back on it now and think, well, okay, was he covering for it? Like, I don't think he was. I just think there was a period in his life where the world was his sexual oyster and he slurped it up.
Slurp.
But he comes out with Faith and he becomes like literally he's the best-selling artist on the planet for that year, for 1988, which is a big year to be the best-selling artist. That means he's outselling Michael Jackson, he's outselling Janet Jackson, he's outselling INXS. Like, he's literally the biggest musician on the planet that quickly. Like, it's insane to think of that quickly. This was the other thing that sort of fascinated me. I didn't realize that Last Christmas came out the same year as Do They Know It's Christmas. I didn't realize that they were fighting back and forth for number one on those. I knew they came out from the same era, but I had no idea that George Michael was literally like writing a competing song, which. Like, he ended up donating, like, the Band Aid was supporting the famine in Ethiopia, and all of the proceeds from Last Christmas were also donated. So it wasn't like he was competing, but it's hard for me not to think that the competitive artist in his head wasn't just like, I wonder if I can top all of you guys.
And it's fun because he's in both, like, and he's just like, that would be funny if he's like, can I slip a third one in there and just watch this play out?
And then in 1985, he's doing a duet with Elton John at Wembley Stadium. So imagine how fast that is. Like, in 1982, I think he's like 19 years old.
Yeah.
3 years later, like in the blink of an eye, it's Wembley Stadium with Elton John. Like, what does that do to your brain?
I don't know. You have to be wired a certain way to handle that. It just feels like anxiety attack to me. Like, too fast.
It would make me go nuts. Like, I think of like the little tiny comedy stages in Texas that I was nervous to perform on at that very age. Like, obviously I didn't have like the world beating talent of George Michael, but I don't, like, in all the articles and everything that I read about this guy, I don't think that he had that kind of ego that was telling him like, you have this world beating talent. I think it was something a little different. I think it was just like I really do think that he had that. It's like, okay, there's a silver mine inside of you. There's a little silver vein. And if we get in there and dig, maybe it's going to charm some people.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't seem to be like the bombastic ego that Madonna is or that Bono is. He's just, at least he doesn't feel that way to me.
No, he never came across that way to me.
It goes into the 90s and it's I Want Your Sex is kind of banned from US radio, or they're not, it's not banned, but they won't say the title of it, even though he sings it. Like Casey Kasem, apparently, when he's introducing it on the top 40, is just like, it's the new song from George Michael.
Oh my gosh. Isn't it crazy? Like, I don't know. I guess like people in their 20s today will look at the 90s as the old days, but we were teenagers in the 90s and I'm like, I thought we were not conservative, but we were. I mean, look at the music now. Everything is just like raunchy ass sex. But even at like a few years later, like Rex and Effects and like, all the like was it NWA that had like, oh no, I can't think, like just the really, really, really raunchy rap group.
Oh, I know who you're thinking of, and what? Yeah, the name is not going to occur to me, and people are screaming at us right now.
They're screaming at us. They know what it is. 1 and 1, we're having some fun. It was so dirty, but then they wouldn't say "I want your sex" on the radio. Like, what is going on?
I think it was because everything was so compartmentalized. Like, obviously, the big difference between life now and then is that we're all, we all have a computer in our pocket, and we're all hooked up to one cable.
Yeah.
Like back then, I remember really when I was 12 or 13, like the idea of listening to hip hop was wrong on both sides. Like there were the racist hammerheads didn't want you exposing yourself to black culture, and then like the liberal do-gooders didn't want you pretending to be black.
Right.
It was, you were really caught in it was definitely, I've talked about it before. It always felt like opening somebody else's mail.
Right.
It was impolite for a white guy from Canada to be listening to that sort of thing.
Hold on. We're gonna get to why he had to come out, but I have to. Me so. Come on, Diane. Me so horny. Who did it? Two Live Crew. Thank you.
There it is.
That was gonna drive me nuts. We can move on now.
So as he goes into the 90s, his kind of his big heyday is sort of behind him, and now he's George Michael, and he's kind of like, he's still selling albums, and he's still a very successful live performer, and he's still a very resonant artist, but he's not like, he's past his faith peak. So he's kind of like sort of shopping around. And I think like I'm 14 or 15 in the mid 90s. And I think he's kind of like, he's sort of forgotten for that younger generation, you know, like unless he has a hit that's going to come out and sort of reestablish himself. You've got that tiny little window, you know, you've got 4 or 5 years where you can really sell some records and have an impact. And then after that, you're sort of on the road to nostalgia.
Well, and also grunge came in hard, and that he couldn't put a toe in that water, you know.
Which would have been fun if he tried, though. Like, oh, of all the, can you imagine a Kurt Cobain, George Michael duet? I can certainly imagine it. I could certainly see Kurt go like seeking that out. Like, absolutely, I want to share a stage with you.
I'm just trying to imagine like Eddie Vedder and actually I think I could see it with Eddie Vedder more so.
Yeah, let's see if we can make that happen. I'll get Eddie on the phone. Oh, of course, that's not going to happen.
Oh.
I'm sorry, everybody. I forgot. George Michael is getting a little bit more comfortable in his sexuality. He eventually gets to a point where he says he stops sleeping with women because of the guilt that he was feeling. Just like, I'm just like, he's like, it's fun and I enjoy it, but I am just using them because I'm a gay man. You know, like I'm attracted to them. I love the female body, but if that's all I'm doing, then I'm feeling bad about it. And he wants to be in a proper relationship. So he starts long-term relationships with a guy from Dallas named Goss, who is who he lives with and you know, has a relationship with for a long time. And it's as he's in that relationship, I'm not a gay person. I've never been in a gay relationship. It works differently for gay men. That's all I know and all I really care to say about it. But George Michael was still cruising for gay sex. Yeah. He's in Los Angeles in a park that's sort of known for it. And I mean, he's obviously, that's what he's there for, but an undercover police officer kind of comes up to George and starts the flirtation. They do the thing, as George kind of cutely puts it. He goes, well, he initiated the game of I'll show you mine if you show me yours. And then I showed him mine and he showed me his handcuffs.
That's entrapment. I don't like
that. Is, yeah, certainly does sound like entrapment. It also sounds like why are police resources going into something like that in the first place?
Get your head out of their bedroom or park, wherever they choose to do it. But like, leave them alone.
And I could see an argument for like public nuisance or whatever. It was like, oh, come the fuck on. Like, it's late at night in a public park. Like, yeah. Leave George Michael alone.
Yeah. And Pee Wee Herman. Just let them do their thing.
Those were right around the same time. So like the Pee Wee and the George Michael jokes definitely started flying around. So that's when George Michael was forced out of the closet. And I don't think it came as much of a surprise to the adults in the room. No. I was 17 or 18. It didn't surprise me, but I certainly wasn't above sniggering and making the jokes about it.
Right.
But then on he goes into 2000, and now he's he's an LGBTQ icon. I think he always had been.
Yeah.
I think they always do.
Yeah.
Any doubt. But he goes and he starts supporting gay causes, AIDS donations. He's performing for a lot of charities that benefit gay healthcare. But he's also getting into politics. His father was a straight up communist, and George was raised as a communist. Ooh. So when things like the second Iraq War start coming around, George Michael is furious. Like, he's releasing songs and he's demanding, because it's a little different in England, but I guess the English went to they just declared war the same way that we do. But I guess the English public was demanding, like, no, this is an important enough issue that it needs to be what's a referendum. Like you need to put this to a public vote. It's long about time that if we're going to go to war, you need to ask the public. And George Michael was very much at the forefront of making that argument. Like, you can't ask this from us without putting it to a referendum. You just can't.
Oh, interesting. I don't remember any of this.
He was a powerful speaker, like, obviously, like, and he'd overcome he'd been through a lot of different chapters in his life. I don't think this was a guy and he also had some drug problems. But it's weird, he didn't seem to have like the all-encompassing, like, it's starving you, you're hurting your relationships kind of drug problems. It just seems like this was the guy who was just having way too much fun.
Yeah.
Like, everything that he talks about, like, it's not cocaine, it's not heroin. He's just like, man, I just get too fucked up on the pot.
That's his drug problem.
That's
most people's drug problem.
No, I smoke pot when I'm trying to avoid my other vices. Do this, I'll just stay home. I felt bad a couple of nights ago. I was just like, there's nothing going on. So I smoked a pot at like 10:30 at night. And then I started getting text messages from people that I really wanted to hang out with. I was like, no.
I can't move. And I've eaten all my snacks. Yeah, I've just recently come to pot because, like, we've talked about it 1,000 times. I can never really smoke it. It gave me anxiety. I don't want to put smoke in my lungs. And I finally found that juice, that liquid stuff from Gas Gods that I really like. And I do a tablespoon. I watch my shows and I go to sleep, but I get very funny right before I fall asleep. But then I told Corbin, I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore, simply because I cannot stop getting creative with what I'm eating. And I was like, I don't even think I'm hungry, but I want to mix popcorn with granola bars. And like, I just want to crunch everything that's crunchy in my house. Can't do it. I can't do it.
I just like to watch. I get very, very good at watching TV. I get really good at picking up the narrative threads. Like, oh, that relates to that. Absolutely pat myself on the back for being a genius for being able to spot it. And anybody next to me, they're just annoyed as shit. Will you shut the fuck up?
Oh my gosh. I was making myself laugh last night. You know those progressive commercials where the guy is teaching the people not to be like their parents, coaching them. And I just imagine him being like, I'm new to pot, and he's like my pot Sherpa, and being like, no, don't tweet about being high. No one cares, Diane. No one cares. It's only funny to you.
And it's true.
Yeah.
Tweet about being high. Don't tweet about your fantasy football team. No one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the other funny joke I saw on the internet today. Was people will post like, nobody cares about your Spotify rap list, but then they'll post a picture of their kid. Like, oh, that's savage.
How I punish people with my kids. I don't care.
But George Michael is kind of becoming like the pop sort of royalty. Like, he's definitely, like, he's in and out of rehab quite a bit in the 2000s and into the 2015s. He's kind of moving. He has a car accident where he falls out of his car, hits his head, and spends a couple of nights in the hospital. He gets pneumonia in like 2012, and he's hospitalized for months at a time. So the health isn't going well. And eventually he dies of heart disease on Christmas Day, 2016. After he passes, my sister's about to come in. We're going to have to edit a little bit.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Right. After he passes, he's found by his longtime boyfriend, or his boyfriend of 5 years, Christmas morning. After he passes, all of these stories start coming about all of the charities and causes that he donated to privately. And like he was known for his philanthropic and humanitarian work publicly. But what wasn't known was everything, the little things, the individual things that he was doing behind the scenes. He would see people, women on TV, talking about their intravenous fertilization therapies.
IVF, yeah.
IVF. And for whatever reason, it just really, really struck a chord with him. And so twice, like, he paid for different women's IVF coverage.
Wow, that shit is expensive.
He did it a number of times. There was a gigantic Christmas tree in his neighborhood in North London where he was born in North London, and it sounds like he stayed in North London. I have no doubt that he moved into a much nicer house.
Yeah.
But there was a Christmas tree that got put up, a great big elaborate one that got put up every year. And of course, it turns out that was sponsored by George Michael.
Love
it was
it.
just, and the list of things were just absolutely endless. Like after his passing, there were so many people that came out, just like, he never wanted to talk about this in public, but this is what he was doing. He had a massive wealth, and he wrote, produced, and played all of the instruments on Last Christmas. He was that kind of guy. Like I didn't know that. I thought George Michael was a good looking, singy, dancey, just put him in front, give him the lyrics and have him sing kind of guy. Not at all.
That's crazy, because I remember seeing him with the guitar and Faith, but like, yeah, I didn't think of him as being an all instrument musician. You never saw that.
And apparently it went into every other aspect of his life. There's nothing, you would think that George Michael, hiding his gay secret and with his drug problem, would be a magnet for, like a spurious manager, for somebody to steal from him or defraud him or something like that. It never happened because he was 100% always on top of his shit. Like when he died, his fortune was immense. Like if you'd asked me in 2015, like what's George Michael worth, I'd be like, probably the house he's living in. I would imagine that between the leather jackets and the fancy shoes and the probably hush money and drug money and all that stuff, I would imagine he's just about destitute. Like no, he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Wow.
And it's still coming in because Last Christmas is going to make him another 50 million this year.
Oh my gosh. This song took off, and it wasn't, it was always like #1 during Christmas time in Europe or something, I read, but like not in America until after he died.
Until after he died. It held the record for the longest time. It never got to #1 in England until after George Michael died. So it was the longest that a single had ever taken to get to #1 until...
Was it 2018?
Kate Bush did it last year.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've read that.
With that resurrection, yeah, it's just a little pop trivia. But that's George Michael. That's just a soulful guy. Like if you think he's pop bubblegum throwaway, then you're absolutely wrong. There's a great quote from him that was like literally addressing, like the writer of the article was asking, like, how does it feel to be thought of as a disposable pop star when you're obviously, a proper musician? And his answer was just like, it just amazes me that people get artistic credit when they work in other mediums. Like everybody thinks that if you want to be a pop star, it must mean that you're vacuous or you're empty. And his thing, what if I just love pop?
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, when I was growing up, like the Beatles were pop music. Like that's what I always wanted to make was music that everybody loved. Don't tell George Michael there's not an art in that.
Yeah, there's something just that doesn't feel as like the pop that we talk about, like the Britney Spears and boy bands and stuff. George Michael's music never felt like that to me, though. I don't even know what I would have categorized the Faith album as. I was like, it's not new wave, but it was its own thing. It just didn't feel like pop music to me. It just felt good, his own thing.
Yeah, I think if I didn't associate the Faith album so much with my mother and my sister, like I would have definitely recognized it as, oh, this is sex pop. Like, this is
that's good.
incredibly horny music right here.
Undercover gay sex pop. That's what it is. With supermodels. It's definitely
That's George Michael. I think we George Michael.
I think we did. I just wanted to mention this one thing that was funny about this happened in 2015. And of course, it's names I cannot pronounce. I don't know what NTN Carinthia presenter Joe Colifer, I don't know how to say any of this. Not the point. He apparently had a radio show, his 8 a.m. show on December 18th, 2015, he started his show by telling his Austrian listeners that he felt people in the area were not in the Christmas spirit. He then proceeded to play Last Christmas on a loop for almost 2 hours as a Christmas protest. So he blockaded the studio door with a wooden chair, locking out his co-host, Patricia Jordan, and the station producers. The Austrian DJ eventually stopped playing this tune after they got his 4-year-old daughter on the phone, and she told her dad she didn't like the song. I just thought that was a cute story.
I want to be a radio DJ and just torture people.
I love the idea of like nobody's in the Christmas spirit. I'm barricading this doors. Like his producer's like, what the fuck are you doing? You know? He's like, no, this is what's gonna do it. That's what I was gonna segue into asking you. Like I'm wanting to do Christmas songs because literally it's for me. I'm trying to get myself in the Christmas spirit because I wasn't there last year and I'm like, I'm doing it this year. So what gets you in the Christmas spirit? Like, is there any like a couple things, one thing that gets you there?
Yeah, Grand Marnier.
Grand Marnier? I have two things. It's hot, boozy drinks and Christmas candles.
No, I only drink Grand Marnier in the month of December, and it throws everybody for a loop. Like,
Ah.
I walk into my local where they used to me having a beer and a whiskey, and I'll be like, this is going to be weird.
Isn't that
I
usually
want-
just like a liqueur, like an additive to a margarita? Like who drinks it by
It's
itself?
just orange liqueur, and for whatever reason, when I was in my early 20s, the woman that I lived with, Grand Marnier became like the gift that like people
Just
would
on
bring.
ice? Like
Just on ice or just in a brandy snifter, and it's become like a real sense memory, and I absolutely do pursue it and force it on other people.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna because I like orange liqueur. Okay, I like it. Yeah, and mine I like it's called wassail, but it's just like basically apple cider, like hot apple cider with all the spices, and then I spike it with like either apple crown royal or fireball because it's
Yep.
cinnamony. But that's what I'm drinking right now, and I'm like, I can't drink this all year. I can drink it at Thanksgiving and through the month of December, and it makes me feel very Christmassy and very happy.
Mhm. I don't get like fully into the Christmas spirit until, and I've done that now, but until like the Christmas shopping is done. Up until then, like I just feel like anxiety.
Yeah.
You know, like I've got a big family and they're big gift givers, so I just feel like there's like a lot of pressure to just be like you got to make sure that your gift is thoughtful and calibrated and all that, and it weighs on my mind. So until I've got that done, and I've got it done now I'm just like, okay, we can relax and enjoy ourselves.
Well, I'm gonna admit that, I put that thing out there that I was done with my Christmas shopping.
Mhm.
I meant mostly for my son and a couple friends.
Mhm.
Every year it's a struggle. I do not know what to get Corbin because
Yeah.
we share a bank account, so I have to like take out money and then buy it with cash so he doesn't know what I'm getting. And
Mhm.
he buys himself whatever he wants all year long. I mean, and I have to get like real creative and real thoughtful with it. Like last year, there's this one dish he likes at this one Indian food place on the other side of town.
Mhm.
So I went there and had them make like 8 of them and had them frozen. And so he'd have them to eat throughout the year. So we didn't have to drive that far. That's what the level of like, ooh, what do I get you? And this year I'm just at a loss, and he's already shoving it in my face that he has already gotten my gift. It's the best gift he's ever gotten me. I'm going to die laughing, and it didn't cost him $1. What is it?
I'm anxious to know.
I'm not even gonna let it drive me mad because he's like, you'll never guess it in a million years. You cannot guess it. So I was like, I am not even gonna try. And then I just like knowing that like my gift is already, I'm defeated. Whatever I get him, I have one idea that I can't talk about because he listens to the podcast.
Yep.
And I don't even think I can pull that off. So I don't know. I just feel deflated when it comes to shopping for him. I'm like, I don't know.
Give with confidence, Diane.
Okay. All right. 6 Degrees of Tinted Windows is coming tomorrow, but
Okay.
I'm going to insert it right here.
Hey friends, welcome to a videoless version of 6 Degrees. Why videoless? Well, it's moving day. But I didn't want to miss the chance to connect George Michael to tinted windows. And why would I not want to miss such a chance? Because it allows me to talk about the Freddie Mercury tribute concert, one of the first concerts I personally saw on TV. That concert featured George Michael performing along with Queen, and later in the show, Queen would be joined by Elton John and Axl Rose. Rose, of course, the frontman of Guns N' Roses, a band that featured our old friend Tommy Stinson on bass for a stint. Stinson, of course, also played on the Whiskeytown album Pneumonia, that featured guitar work from James Iha, who would do the same job for Tinted Windows. So this week we went George Michael to Queen to Guns N' Roses to Whiskeytown to Tinted Windows. Back to Diane in bed.
And we're done. Yeah.
Virgin, thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. I know that he was excited to do this because there was like a text he sent me about his love for Wham. Actually, I want to read it because it was funny.
Mhm.
Oh, me so horny. Um, when I told him we were doing Wham, he was like, I was mocked frequently in 7th grade for how much I loved George Michael's second solo album. And I was like, well, he ruled. He's like, agreed.
There's nothing wrong with that. Looking back now with the confidence of a 40-year-old man, like I wholly embrace George Michael and his music.
For sure.
Completely.
Do you have any deep cuts? Because I have one.
I didn't do a deep cut. Instead, I picked a Christmas song to torture you with if we're going to do Christmas songs all year.
For like what you're gonna do next time? Okay, hold
Yeah.
on. Let me get to that because I'll do my deep cut.
Uh,
And I won't spend too much time on this. It's just one of these songs. It was a band from Germany, and I pronounced it Wolfsheim, but it's German, so it's probably like Wolfsheim or something. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's a song that I always dance to at numbers, but I think like in Germany it was a huge hit, like pop level, like huge hit, and it's called Once in a Lifetime. And as I was like talking about wanting to do this song, I was like, man, I kind of just want to do this song because it has lyrics that are really fun to break down. Like basically, the song starts, a storm is rolling in and everybody's freaking out, I guess like a hurricane level storm. And this man is basically standing on the shore yelling at God, like, fucking do your best, because apparently his wife and unborn son died in the ocean in some way. I don't know if it was a shipwreck or they drowned. So he's been having this, he's an old man now, and he's been having this struggle with God. And like one of the last lines is, I don't pretend that I love you, and this time I'm not scared of you. It's a good, like deep, like, I have nothing left to lose. The main
you yell,
lyric,
"Oh God," that's probably what you need to do. Like, I don't pretend to love you and I'm not afraid of you. That
yeah,
says it all.
yeah. Yeah, the main beat, the main chorus is calm down my heart, don't beat so fast, don't be afraid just once in a lifetime, which I think translates to don't be afraid for once in your life. Like he's just like the whole song is a big F you to, it can be God, it can be the universe, it can be the ocean. He could be literally talking to the ocean, like take me or what, do your best. But it's also just one of those songs like we talked about last week that I love, that's like got a really good dance beat, and I love being out on the floor, and it's the saddest things, darkest shit coming out of this guy's mouth.
Calm down my heart, don't beat so fast. Don't be afraid, just once in a lifetime. I don't pretend that I love you, and this time I'm not scared of you.
That's my jam. All right, what are you bringing to me next week for a Christmas song?
I didn't want to do like the popular Christmas songs. Like I
I don't want
definitely
you to. I don't want
there
you
was
to.
part of me that wanted to find out like why Bruce Springsteen turned Santa Claus is Coming to Town into his typical earnest Springsteen grind. Santa Claus is coming, Bruce. It's happy. I wanted to do that. I also wanted to do U2 do Baby Please Come Home, and it's
Yes.
like the most ridiculous over the top Bono wailing, but we've done enough of that.
Maybe.
So instead I found a song that I haven't heard before, but it's called Mistress for Christmas, and it's by AC/DC.
Oh my God, Corbin's gonna be so happy. Misters for Christmas?
Mistress for Christmas, and it's by
Mistress for
AC/DC.
Christmas.
So if you think you know what it's about, you're exactly right.
This is so fun. I'm so excited because I was like, Ben, I almost made us do the Hanukkah song by Adam Sandler.
Delight.
But I looked at the lyrics, which sound fun, and then it's just him naming Jewish people. I mean, the whole song is just naming Jew. I mean, it's very funny, but I was like, man, because I was like, let's do silly stuff, and of course I thought about Baby It's Cold Outside. Like, how many times are we going to cancel Dean Martin? It's almost hack at this point, but there's a lot of fun Christmas songs, and I'm so excited that you dug deep on this one.
We're up.
Let's do it. I'm
George
excited.
Michael, we miss you.
Yeah,
We didn't. I said, George Michael, we miss you.
I miss you
Mm-hmm.
very much.
Mm-hmm. Merry Christmas, George.
Merry Christmas.
Oak.
Oak.
1, 2, 3.
Rock the Cash Bar is produced by Diane Gallagher, music by Chuck Savage and Eddie Hawkins. Special thank you to Jeremy Essig for 6 Degrees and to Sarah Wessling for the Guilty Pleasures vocals. Our website is rockthecashbarpodcast.com, and there you can find links to our Spotify playlist and to our Patreon. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.